Welcome, mindful parents. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how do I get my daughter to wear the hijab. Let me start off by saying that the topic of hijab is not something that should be introduced suddenly to our daughters. It needs to flow from when they are really young. You might be wondering, how do I do that? Well, here is some ideas that you can do to introduce your daughters to hijab. And you have to start from a very young age. From a young age, have books in your home that represents the Muslim woman, that have pictures of people and women that are wearing the hijab. This is something that you can do from day one. When they see the image of a Muslim woman and the hijab, they start normalizing it. It doesn't become something that is odd or weird. It just becomes natural to them. It's something that they have been exposed to from a very young age. The second thing you can do is actually share your own hijab story with your kids. I still remember till this day when I was sitting on that kitchen counter and my mom told me about her hijab story. And I remember asking her all these questions to get a lot of details. It is exciting. It's so exciting when we share our childhood stories with our children and they will be able to connect with us. If you are not wearing the hijab and your sister is wearing or another family member is wearing the hijab, then they can share their hijab story with your children. The third thing is that children are curious, and throughout their childhood they will notice things and they will ask you questions. And one of the things that they might ask you is, why are you wearing the hijab? And while you're having all these informal conversation, you need to be open about it and you need to have that conversation with them. And as we all know, why we wear the hijab is because Allah Azza wa Jal has asked us to wear it. It's very simple and sometimes we complicate things. So answer it in a simple manner, that why we wear the hijab is because Allah has asked us to wear it. Even with your sons, these conversations about the hijab should not only be with your daughters, they also need to be with your sons. We've had so many different conversations when I put the hijab on, or when we are in specific places where like splash pads or going to the beach, for example. Those are, for me, those are the times where my sons asked me about the hijab and why do we wear the hijab. And you need to be proud about it and you need to be confident about it, so they are also confident about why you have the hijab on and why would they, if they're your daughters, put the hijab on in the future. When we do all these things from a very young age, it becomes natural for your daughters to actually put the hijab on when it's their time to put it on. When we have always talked about it, we've talked about how this is something that all Muslim women need to do. They need to put the hijab on. It's something that we are obligated to do. They know that this is an expectation that will be expected of them. It's the same thing with prayers. When we introduce prayers, when we role model prayer, when we talk about prayer, when it's their time to start praying, it becomes natural because we've prepared them for it and we give them time to practice it. And it's the same thing with the hijab. When we have it in the house, when we have an area in the house where we can put extra hijabs in and the kids pretend, or your daughters pretend to put the hijab on, when we go to the masjid and they put the hijab on, this is something that becomes part of them and it's very normalized. So when it's time for them to put the hijab on, it's not something that is strange. It's not something that all of a sudden you have to sit down and have this serious talk with them. Definitely should not wait for the last minute to talk about the hijab. It's not a homework. It's not something that we have to check off our list. No, it's a natural part. So don't wait for the last minute to start talking, oh, how am I going to get my daughter to put the hijab on? What do I need to do to get her to put the hijab on? It should be a natural process. I know I have said this so many times during this video, but this is how we can make it something that is in their hearts. We plant that seed from a young age, that when it flourishes naturally. It doesn't have to be artificial. Another question came up, and a mother asked me, so what if my daughter comes to me and she's only 6 or she's only 7 and she says she wants to put the hijab on? In my opinion, let them do it. Do not restrict it. Do not say, no, you can't put it on right now. Remember, at this age, they're trying to experiment. And if they put it on and they said that they don't want to keep it on, it's okay. They are not obligated at that age to put it on. And you can communicate that with them. You can tell them that you're not obligated to put the hijab on right now. However, if you would like to put it on, go ahead, put it on, try it. If you feel this is what you want to do, then this is your decision. However, when you become a certain age, when you put the hijab on, you can't take it off. When we have those conversations with them, they know what is expected of them. They know the rules, that when you hit a certain age, you're gonna put it on. If this is your decision, do not force your children to put it on, because there's no benefit of us forcing them to put it on. It's our responsibility to teach them about it. It's our responsibility to tell them that they need to put it on, but we should not force them to put it on. It needs to come from within. Like anything else that we do that is a ibadah, like praying, like reading the Quran. We want to, as I said before, plant that seed so it can flourish naturally. But we should not force something upon them. We need it to become a natural part of their growth process. When we sometimes tell our daughters, no, don't put it on, you're too young, we are sending a negative message. A message that says, no, it's not good, or don't do it right now. Which gives them an alarming signal of why are they reacting that way? If it's something that we need to do, why are they becoming so negative about it? Why are they rebelling against us wearing the hijab? And that's why you should just go with the flow and allow them to experiment, especially if they are 5 or 6 or 7 years old. And then when they do decide to put the hijab on, throw a hijab party for them. I've seen so many people do it. I haven't done it personally because my daughter is still very young. She's only 14 months. But I think this is an amazing opportunity to celebrate and to empower your daughters for putting the hijab on, to celebrate putting the hijab on as a milestone where we allow her to celebrate this huge step she took, and empower her for taking that decision and celebrating with her for making that decision. I really hope that you found those tips helpful. Remember to create peace at home for a peaceful world.